So, the English language is very much like a chain of borrowings due to the frequent invasions of various outsiders. When William, the Duke of Normandy, crowned himself as King of England, the upper class started to speak French, while the lower classes retained the English language. This was probably related to the fact that William only spoke French. So the people who were closer to him, and in this case it was the upper class, followed his language to show their loyalty and support for better connections. King William was more likely to give property or power to a noble or lord that spoke his language rather than someone who spoke English. In the 10,000 words that were borrowed into the English language from the Normans, many were typically government, economy, nobility, war, combat, law, or social, and the arts related. As you can tell, these subjects aren't really everyday peasant people matters, so it makes sense for the majority of the higher or refined words to be borrowed from French, because it was the upper class that used the language. Government-related words include parliament, government, and city. Authority-related words include servant, empire, and money. Our English word money directly comes from the French monnaie. Baron, noble, and castle and prince are examples of nobility-related words. Many of the words having to do with the law were also heavily influenced by French, such as justice, attorney, plaintiff, and felony. Most likely as a result of many French-borrowed judicial words, the legal system also retained parts of the language's word order, where the adjective follows the noun. Since the upper class primarily spoke French, the words in the social life and arts categories were also borrowed from the Normans. It was really only rich people who could afford the money and time to invest in education, literature, cuisine, and the arts. Fashion, cuisine, collage, and literature are examples of the many words that the English borrowed from the French. A lot of the architectural terms used today also have French origins, such as terrace and pavilion. On the topic of cuisine, various food names were also adopted into the language, like meringue, croissant, and pastry. The idea of French as more of a refined and elegant language also impacted the origins for the words of jobs and animals. The lower or humble trades retained their Anglo-Saxon names, such as baker, miller, and shoemaker, whereas the more skilled trades adopted French names like mason, painter, tailor, and merchant. The same idea applied to animals in the field and animals once they were cooked and served. The former kept their English names, sheep, cow, and swine, while the latter developed French-related names like mutton, beef, and pork. The historical context of England heavily impacted which words were and weren't borrowed from the French. Colloquial and ordinary matters typically retained their Anglo-Saxon names, while matters of higher importance and refinery were given French names. However, sometimes the French and Old English components combined to form new words and doublets emerged.